Hey everyone, you know those moments in science that just kind of blow your mind? Well, get ready, because today's deep dive is all about one of those.
Oh, yeah. I love those
I
moments.
know, right? Okay, so picture this. You're out exploring the desert, expecting the usual cacti and sand, right? But then, bam, you stumble upon.
16 new species of scorpions.
Close. It's 16 new grasshopper species.
Whoa, seriously? That's wild. You'd think we'd have a pretty good handle on what's living in the desert by now.
Right, it's all detailed in this article from Date of Article. It's called Desert Secrets. Scientists discover 16 new grasshopper species in U.S. and Mexico.
Catchy title.
I know, right? So get this. Before this discovery, scientists only knew about 3 species in this genus. That's Agroecotettix.
Agroeco what now?
Agroecotettix. But now we've got 19. Isn't that amazing?
That's a huge jump. It really makes you wonder what else is out there just waiting to be discovered.
Exactly. And it all started with this entomologist, JoVonn Hill, from Mississippi State University.
Okay, so this guy's clearly a grasshopper guru.
Oh, totally. He's been fascinated by them since he was a kid, and now he's making these groundbreaking discoveries. What's the most fascinating thing about this to you?
For me, it's got to be the location. We always think about biodiversity in those lush rainforests or coral reefs, but to find this many new species in the desert?
It really flips the script on what we think of as biodiverse environments.
Right.
And it just makes you wonder, what else are we missing out there?
Totally. It really emphasizes how important exploration and research are. You never know what you'll find.
Absolutely. And speaking of JoVonn Hill, this guy isn't just any entomologist. He's the director of the Mississippi Entomological Museum.
Wow, so he turned his childhood passion into a serious career? That's awesome.
I know, right? So inspiring. But let's get back to these awesome grasshoppers. What can you tell us about their habitat?
Well, they live in the thorny scrublands of the U.S. and Mexican deserts. So yeah, you're probably picturing a harsh, unforgiving landscape.
Sounds pretty intense.
It is, but like we're learning, even these seemingly barren environments are teeming with life.
It's a good reminder that you can find beauty and wonder in the most unexpected places, right?
Absolutely.
And there's this quote from JoVonn Hill that really resonated with me. He said something about exploring biodiversity before we lose it.
Ooh, yeah, that's a powerful statement. It highlights how crucial it is to understand and protect these delicate ecosystems.
Definitely. Okay, so we've got these awesome new grasshoppers in this harsh desert environment. But how did they get there? How did they evolve into these unique creatures?
That's where it gets even more interesting. Scientists believe that the Pleistocene epoch, or what we commonly call the Ice Age, might have played a huge role in their evolution.
With the Ice Age, how could that be connected to these desert grasshoppers?
It's all about isolation and adaptation. Imagine alpine grasshoppers living in the Rocky Mountains during the Ice Age.
Okay, I'm with you.
So as the glaciers retreated, these grasshoppers were pushed up to higher elevations and basically got isolated from other populations. Over time, these isolated groups evolved unique characteristics and eventually became distinct species.
So are you saying these desert grasshoppers might have gone through a similar process, like they got stuck on a mountain range and had to adapt to their new environment?
Exactly. Each mountain range became like its own little evolutionary laboratory, which led to this incredible diversity we're seeing today.
Whoa, my mind is vividly blown. These tiny creatures are carrying around this incredible evolutionary history, all tied back to the Ice Age.
And that's just the beginning. These grasshoppers are also unique in their mating habits, which might have also contributed to their rapid diversification.
Wait, what do you mean by unique? Are we talking like elaborate courtship dances or something?
Not quite. They're not really into those pre-mating rituals.
So no fancy moves?
Nope. Hill describes them as having a sexually selective nature, which basically means they're not too picky when it comes to choosing a mate.
Haha, so more like, hey, you're a grasshopper, I'm a grasshopper, let's do this.
Pretty much. And that combined with their isolation on these specific mountain ranges likely contributed to the rapid evolution of these distinct species. It shows that evolution doesn't always have to be slow and gradual. Sometimes things can speed up due to things like geographic isolation and mating behaviors.
Wow, so many factors at play. But how do scientists know for sure that these are distinct species? How do you even tell one grasshopper from another?
That's where DNA analysis comes in. Hill and his team are working with researchers at the University of Michigan to sequence the DNA of these grasshoppers.
So they're basically creating a grasshopper family tree.
You got it. This DNA analysis will confirm whether these are distinct species, and it will help us understand their evolutionary relationships. Scientists can use a technique called a molecular clock to estimate when each species branched off from its common ancestor.
Hold on, molecular clock, what is that?
It's a really cool tool that allows scientists to estimate evolutionary timescales. Think of it like using the rings of a tree to determine its age.
Okay, I get it. So like a DNA time machine.
Exactly. But why is all this important? What can these tiny desert dwellers tell us about the bigger picture?
That's a great question.
Well, it leads us to one of the most crucial aspects of this discovery, the link between these new grasshopper species and climate change.
Okay, I'm all ears.
By understanding how past climate shifts like the Ice Age influence the evolution of these grasshoppers, we can gain valuable insights into how current and future climate change might impact biodiversity on a larger scale.
So they're like little messengers from the past, giving us clues about how life on Earth responds to a changing climate.
Exactly.
That's amazing. It's like they're showing us the future of evolution. Studying how they adapted to past climate changes can help us understand how other species might handle a warming world.
Exactly. And this brings us to one of the most exciting parts of this research, how it can be used for conservation.
You mean we could use this knowledge to protect other species facing climate change?
Exactly. By understanding what drives speciation and adaptation, we can make better strategies to conserve biodiversity in a changing climate.
So this isn't just about discovering new species. It's about using that knowledge to actually protect life on Earth. That's incredible.
It is, and what's even more remarkable is JoVonn Hill's work doesn't stop there. He's involved in 2 other huge projects focused on grasshoppers.
2 more. This guy's a grasshopper legend. Tell me more.
Well, first, he's co-authoring a book on North American grasshoppers.
So he's not just discovering new species, he's writing the book on them. That's dedication.
It really shows his passion for these creatures. The book aims to highlight the crazy diversity within this group of insects. There are thousands of grasshopper species in North America alone.
Thousands. Wow. I had no idea there's a whole world of grasshoppers out there just waiting to be explored. What about the other project?
The second one is even more ambitious. It's a large-scale study examining the factors driving grasshopper diversity across North America and Mexico. They're looking at over 600 species.
600 species. That's insane. What are they hoping to learn from that?
The goal is to pinpoint the key environmental factors that influence grasshopper diversity. They're looking at things like climate, vegetation, even the history of land use in different areas.
So they're trying to figure out why some areas are grasshopper hotspots and others aren't.
Exactly. And by understanding those patterns, we can get a better sense of how different ecosystems work and how they might respond to future changes.
This is so fascinating. But I gotta admit, I'm still hung up on the idea of 600 different grasshopper species. It's hard to even imagine that much diversity.
I know what you mean. It reminds me of something I experienced a while back that really opened my eyes to the hidden wonders of biodiversity.
Ooh, a story. Tell me.
Well, it wasn't as dramatic as discovering 16 new species, but it was a moment that stuck with me. I was walking in the woods near my childhood home, just a normal, everyday training place.
Okay, I'm picturing it. What happened?
As I was walking, I spotted something small and shiny on a leaf. It was a beetle unlike any I'd seen before. It had this iridescent, almost jewel-like shell.
Wow, that sounds beautiful.
It was, and it wasn't just its appearance that bought me. It was the realization that even in this familiar place, there were still creatures I'd never encountered before.
It's like that moment you realize there's a whole universe of life happening right in front of you, and you've been missing it.
Exactly. It made me think about how often we take the natural world for granted, especially those places that seem ordinary.
That's so true. It's easy to forget to appreciate the incredible diversity around us. But this discovery of 16 new grasshopper species, it's a powerful reminder that there's always something new to discover, even in unexpected places.
It is, and it shows how important it is to cultivate that sense of wonder and curiosity, not just in scientists, but in everyone.
So what does this all mean for someone like me who's not a scientist? How can we connect with this and make it relevant to our own lives?
I think the key takeaway is that the natural world is full of surprises. There are still so many mysteries to uncover, so many species to find, and so much we can learn from the creatures we share this planet with.
Like you said before, we can't protect what we don't understand. And the more we learn about life on Earth, the more we'll want to protect it.
Exactly. And that protection starts with awareness. By paying attention, asking questions, and being curious about the world around us, we can all play a part in conserving biodiversity.
So even small acts of observation and appreciation can make a difference.
Absolutely. Even something as simple as taking a walk in nature and really noticing the plants and animals can help you feel connected to and responsible for the natural world.
I love that. It's a good reminder that conservation isn't just about big policies. It's also about individual moments of awareness and appreciation. I have to admit, I'm still a little overwhelmed by the scale of it all. 600 grasshopper species in one study, 16 new species in a seemingly barren desert. It's hard to wrap my head around.
I get it. It's easy to feel overwhelmed by the vastness of nature, but I think that awe is a good thing. It reminds us we're part of something much bigger than ourselves and that we need to protect this planet.
You're right, it's not about feeling overwhelmed. It's about feeling inspired. Inspired to learn more, explore more, and do our part to make sure these amazing creatures and their ecosystems thrive for generations to come.
Well said. And who knows, maybe you'll be the one to make the next big discovery. Maybe there's a new species of beetle waiting to be discovered right in your backyard.
Now there's a thought. You know, it's funny. We started talking about these new grasshoppers in the desert, and now we're talking about beetles in the woods. It just shows that amazing discoveries can happen anywhere, even in places we think we know.
Yeah, for sure. It's why it's so important to always be curious, to keep exploring and asking questions.
Couldn't agree more. So let's recap what we've learned. We started with those 16 new grasshopper species in the deserts of the U.S. and Mexico. It's crazy to think there are still new grasshopper species out there.
I know, right? It really makes you think about what else we haven't discovered yet.
Absolutely. And then we got into the science behind it, the Ice Age, their unique mating habits, how DNA analysis is helping scientists trace their family tree. It's like a giant puzzle.
And it's not just about grasshoppers. It's about understanding how life adapts and evolves in response to change, which is super relevant with climate change.
Exactly. By looking at the past, we can get a better idea of what the future might hold. And that's where this research becomes so important, because it can help us protect biodiversity for the future.
It's a good reminder that even the smallest creatures can teach us so much about resilience, adaptation, the interconnectedness of life.
So if you're feeling inspired to go explore your backyard, your local park, or even just that patch of weeds down the street, go for it.
You never know what you'll find. Maybe a new species, or maybe just a deeper appreciation for the diversity of life around us.
Well said. And remember, even if you don't find a new species, any time spent connecting with nature is time well spent. So keep that curiosity alive, everyone, and keep exploring. There's always something new to learn and something amazing to discover. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.